We ended chapter 4. So let's just hit those last couple of verses just as a reminder that the birth of Seth happened. So it'll be Genesis chapter 4, verse 25. And the end of chapter 4 ends with the birth of Seth. And it says, "And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, and called his name Seth. For God, said she, hath appointed me another seed instead of Abel who Cain slew." Seth is the descendant that everything flows through to Jesus Christ. This is the line that is traced in the book of Luke all the way back to Seth to Adam for the line of Jesus Christ. It says, "And to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and his name was Enos. Then began men to call upon the name of the Lord." What did they do before that sentence? They began to call on the name of the Lord. It wasn't a broad, everybody in the known world began to call on the name of the Lord. It was then that men began to call on the name of the Lord. And I always found that little statement in there was an interesting statement that Moses added. Then began men to call upon the name of the Lord. And chapter 5 gives us the genealogies up to Noah and gives us the connection between Noah and Adam through those genealogies. I think I added up to like 1,500 years between that passed between Noah and Moses that he came back and recorded all those genealogies. And so here's a question for you. Why did Moses give us the genealogies? What was the purpose of it? Because really, it's just you're just reading this person begot this person begot this. Have you ever read through?
So they could track it back for Jesus' birth.
So that
it could verify the prophecies were correct.
Thank you. So they could track it back from Jesus back to Adam because Eve was promised in chapter of Genesis 3:15 that her seed was the one that was going to crush Satan. So to verify that Jesus is the seed that follows back to Adam, all of those genealogies had to be tracked. Do you ever get caught up in some of the books that list all the begots this and begot that? Do you ever get caught up and just kind of graze over them? Yeah, I think all of us do. Half the problem is I can't pronounce the names. I don't know if anybody else struggles with pronouncing their names or not, but I struggle with pronouncing the names.
You got Enosh and Enoch.
Yeah. Yeah. I know they had more letters available to them back then.
You have to swap one of them.
Exactly.
So another word would be ancestry.
For ancestry, exactly. But it's the written proof. If you go to Luke, Luke traces it all the way from Jesus back to Adam. Was it the 4th chapter of Luke, I think? Might be the third chapter of Luke, yeah. So when Jesus arrives, we have the complete proof that we need that we can use to show people that there is a line from Jesus all the way back to Adam when God promised Eve that her seed was going to conquer Satan. And I think that's important because if that wasn't there, it would be another thing the world would use to say, well, you can't prove it. No, you can't prove that Jesus went all the way back to Adam. But because of the genealogies provided in the Bible, we can do that. So, chapter 5. We're going to read a couple of verses here. It says, "This is the book of generations of Adam. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. Male and female created he them, and blessed them, and called their name Adam, in the day when they were created. And Adam lived 130 years and begat a son in his own likeness after his image, and he called his name Seth. Go back and look at verse 5:1 again real quick. In the day that God created man, in the likeness of God made he him. Adam was created in the likeness of God. Verse 3, Adam begat a son in his own likeness. So what was Adam's likeness like before sin? Like God. What was his likeness? What was his character after sin? Flesh and spirit. Thank you. So when they had Seth, Seth took on that likeness of Adam, the flesh, the spirit, which has traveled all the way through history to you and me. We've got that flesh. And there was and I just kind of caught that in my reading this week, that in God's likeness and in Adam's likeness, and I thought that was really interesting. It says, in the days of Adam, after he had begotten Seth, were 800 years, and he begat sons and daughters. Wait, how can people live so long? Why do people live so long back in the early parts of the Bible?
You needed to creation, to create.
You needed the time to make humans.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. But why did they live? Why do we only live an average of 73 years? Something like that? And
all the sicknesses, the viruses, all that has not developed.
all that stuff through all the genetic variations and problems and issues all through history, we think we live a long time. We think medicine has come a long ways. Boy, they'll make us live into our 90s. That's nothing. That's nothing compared to what it was in perfection. Adam lived a total of 930 years and he died. And he begat sons and daughters. Ladies, how many sons and daughters did Adam have?
Well, I guess God wanted them to live that long.
That God wanted them to, absolutely. They were originally created to be perfect. Oh, but could you imagine having kids for 930 years? I mean, well, it's only about 800 years because he waited a little while to have Seth. But can you imagine how many kids Eve had?
But it doesn't say these were with Eve.
Doesn't
It
say
doesn't
they weren't.
say when she died either.
No, it doesn't. But 800 years worth of having kids.
Those reunions are.
There's a lot of fried chicken.
That's a lot of fried chicken. I just think it's interesting of how long people lived and how many kids they could have to populate the earth at that time.
If she had one every year, what, 800 some kids or something?
You'd think she'd had twins once in a while.
Or three or.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the ones that she had when she was 100 were marrying the ones she had when she was 150. They were all marrying each other. I looked up on AIG's information, possibly millions and millions of people around by the time Noah comes around.
Are you talking about answers?
Yes, I'm sorry, exactly. Answers in Genesis. Ken Ham says millions and millions, and he goes through a little explanation of it. To me, it's just crazy.
When you said AI, it sounded like
AIG, yeah.
artificial intelligence.
Oh, well, yeah.
We already going here already.
But to me, it's really interesting the amount of babies that can be produced by humans. So I'm just going to quickly read through some.
I'm thinking too, like my dad's family, they had 12 kids. I don't know, I don't know if that's the most people, maybe a whole lot more than that, but back in his day, he had 11 siblings,
Yeah.
so they had 12 kids altogether. You think, and you had to cook on a wood burning
Yeah.
stove, and you had to eat with the water, and, all those kids, you had to,
How long did they live?
huh?
How long did they live?
Well, Dad's 95.
So 95 so far.
Yeah.
Is she still alive?
Dad?
His wife?
That's my mom. I mean, she
No,
died.
she died.
She died in the hospital. They done something surgery and.
So
think they
she
did the
was in
wrong
her
stuff.
60s and had 12 kids.
We had. Well, Mom had
The
6.
math.
Mom had 6 kids. I got a half brother, so
Yeah.
she had 5 of us,
She had
and
5.
I got a half brother in Oregon. So,
I've got a friend I work with whose parents had 18 children. Their children were having children while mom and dad were still having children.
well,
And to try to wrap your head around that where, 1 or 2 kids today is kind of the norm. So,
Yeah, how can you be grandma when you're still having children?
exactly. Yeah. So,
That family dynamic is different.
you think your dinner table you like so well. Could you imagine?
They're having more cooks than me.
You got that right. So I find there's something I find interesting in the next sets of the genealogy. Seth lived 105 years. He begat Enos. Go to the next one. Enos lived 90 years and begat Canaan. Canaan lived 70 years and begat Mahalalel. Mahalalel lived 65 years and begat Jared. Jared lived 162 years and begat Enoch. When you look through those 4 or 5 genealogies I just read right there, what do they all have in common? Do you notice anything that they have in common? What's that?
For Jared's.
They all waited over 100 years.
Yeah.
To have their children.
Yeah, it's not in what I read. It's in those verses. I don't know if your Bible breaks them down with categories for each person or not, but there's something all of those people have in common.
Sons.
Okay?
They all lived 800.
You're right, that is one thing they had in common. That's not the answer I'm looking for, but that is one thing they have in common.
They're all related?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to go a lot better than it is right now, just in case you were wondering.
Curious about the vague question.
So Seth, in Seth's section, last 3 words, and he died. Enos, the last 3 words, and he died. Canaan, the last 3 words, and he died. Mahalalel, he died in there somewhere. Oh, and he died. Jared, the last 3 words, and he died. Life is finite. Because of this flesh that we live in, because of sin, because of we live in a fallen world, life is finite. It's still finite for you and I. If some years go on before Jesus comes back, we're all could have at the end of our story, and he died, and she died after having 800 kids, and she died. It's a reminder that when God said, don't eat of it lest you die, we die. To me, it's a solemn reminder. But then something happens. Something happens in the next person, which to me is really cool. And verse 21, and Enoch lived 65 years and begat Methuselah. And Enoch walked with God after he begat Methuselah 300 years and begat sons and daughters. When you hear somebody say somebody walked with God, what picture comes to your mind? He served him, okay. Relationship. I've got both of those written on my list. What else comes to mind when you think about the person that walked with God the most?
He served God.
He served God.
A friend.
A friend. I have gotten to the point where I feel like I know Brother Jim. I never knew him, but I feel like I know him because of how much love you guys have for him. If you were to describe Brother Jim's relationship with Christ, what adjectives would you use?
Walk with him.
Walk with. He loved him. He was in relationship with him. And this is with Enoch. I wrote down, God was an important part of Enoch's life. And from everything that I've heard since last December, I know that God was an important part of Brother Jim's life. And Enoch walked with God. Just a simple statement, just a part of a sentence in his genealogy, but it sticks out. So what?
But God, he didn't die, God took him.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Turn over to the book of Jude. Whoops, I'm throwing stuff.
I don't think there was too much that Brother Jim did that it wasn't, that it had to be, he talked to the Lord, probably about practically everything he ever did, probably. And he put him, like what you think, like,
Yeah.
how should I do this, or how am I going to do this, or how am I going to talk about this, or how am I going to...
Brother Jim put Jesus Christ at the beginning of
I
everything.
think he did.
Yeah.
I think so.
I wish I could say I did that,
Me too.
Rick, but I don't.
Me too.
Lots of times I put me in front of everything. I don't know if anybody else struggles with that or not. So in Jude mentions Enoch. So go to Jude verse 14. Is everybody in Jude? And Enoch also, the seventh from Adam, prophesied of these, saying, Behold, the Lord cometh with 10,000 of his saints to execute judgment upon all and to convince all that are ungodly among of all their ungodly deeds which they have ungodly committed, and of all their hard speeches which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. Enoch was a prophet. Enoch was a preacher. Enoch was sharing Jesus Christ with people. Enoch was telling people about their sins. Enoch shared God with other people. Enoch walked with God. That walk with God for Enoch produced actions for Enoch with other people. Doesn't say it in Genesis, but in Jude, it talks about him prophesying, telling people about the evils that they have done, the ungodly acts which they commit. Enoch knew what ungodly acts were because he walked with God. If we walk with God, we know what ungodly acts are also. Why do I still do them sometimes? Man, why do I argue with my wife sometimes? Why do I get hateful with somebody at the grocery store when I don't get my own way? I love Christ, but Enoch had a special relationship with Jesus Christ. Go back over to chapter 5, Genesis chapter 5. And something happens in Genesis chapter 5 for Enoch. Who said something about all the guys living 800 and some years? Jeremy said that all those people lived 800 years. Are you back? To verse 23. And all the days of Enoch were 365 years. He prophesied. He loved the Lord. He told people about Christ. God knew something was coming. Enoch loved the Lord so much that next verse tells us how much the Lord loved Enoch. And Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. His does not end with, and he died. I think that's really interesting. I think that shows the hope of Jesus Christ right there. In those few words, just the whatever 5 or 6 words of that last sentence, that's what gives us the hope that there's restoration for us.
What does that mean? He was not. What's that mean?
He didn't die.
Or he was not.
God took him as he
God took him
Mine says, then one day he disappeared because God took him.
because God took him. His doesn't end with, and he died, because God took him. That's restoration. It doesn't say that Enoch was perfect. It doesn't say he never sinned, but he walked with God, which I think is really critical for you and I today, because that's the hope that we have in Christ.
And Hebrews 11:5 explains it even further, that by faith Enoch was taken from this life so that he did not experience death. So it again confirms he did not
Yeah.
die. And he could not be found because God had taken him away. For before he was taken, he was commended as one who pleased God.
Yeah. Doesn't say he never sinned, but he pleased God. Oh. How much, I mean, you could walk away from this building right now if you're a believer and walk out of here with a smile on your face. Because we have the hope of Jesus Christ. We have the proof of Enoch. He was faithful. He was a believer in God.
I think Elijah was
Elijah,
the other one
yep.
that was never
Yep. Take away that
caught up in a whirlwind.
whirlwind, yeah. Yep, those were the two. So I just, I know I dwelled right there on Enoch for a minute, but that to me, those couple of sentences with Enoch are just so hopeful to me that all of this that we do 2-3 days a week, that we share with other people, is real. That's what's cool about it. Is we can share it. Enoch shared it 6,000 years ago-ish. And he was taken up to God. Oh, that's so reassuring. And then Methuselah lived 187 years, begat Lamech. And that's important because Lamech is where we talked about a couple weeks ago, things really started going wrong. But then Methuselah, even after living 969 years, and he died. Lamech's descendants. Lamech lived 182 years and begat a son, and he called his name Noah. There it is. And I love, we're not going to get deep into Noah tonight because I just love the history of Noah. But the next sentence, the next 2 sentences, and he called his name Noah, saying, this same shall comfort us concerning our work and toil of our hands, because of the ground which the Lord God hath cursed. Why did God curse the ground? Do you remember? What's that? Because of the sin of Adam and Eve. Through Noah, what's the exact word say? This same person Noah shall comfort us concerning our work. Christ is going to come through Noah. That's our comfort. That's why that extra is added right there, to give us even more hope and more comfort and more something to look forward to as we read the rest of history. To me, this is a history book. This isn't a storybook. And then it talks about Lamech. He begat Noah 595 years. He begat sons and daughters. And what happened to Lamech? And he died. Lamech died also. Now Lamech was especially sinful because of his extra wives and some of his activities. We talked about that a couple of weeks ago. And then in verse 32 it says, "And Noah was 500 years old, and Noah begat Shem, Ham, and Japheth." At 500 years old. Now we don't know if he had other kids before that or any kids after that. I think he was too busy after that. But he had the 3 kids that will populate the world after the flood. But he didn't have them until he was 500 years old. Then how long did God wait before the flood came? Well, he waited before the flood came. He waited 120 years. So, I mean, there's a lot of time that expands through here. And this is another, if you remember at the very beginning of this, we talked about Moses gives this big picture and then dials into real fine details. This is another one of those big picture areas where Noah's given a big picture, and then, not Noah, Moses is giving a big picture. And then he's going to drill down into real detailed information with Noah. So, I'm going to save chapter 6 for next week because there's 5-6 verses here that go together. Any thoughts or comments or questions about tonight? I know, the whole genealogy thing is kind of tough to.
Just verse 2, I thought this was male and female created he them and blessed them and called their name Adam.
Their name, yeah.
Not just his name.
Yeah. The generalization.
Because Eve was taken out.
Yeah.
So we are all mankind.
Yeah. She's talking about chapter 5, verse 2. Yeah, we're all mankind. Yep. Thank you. I had made a mental note to say something about that, but I didn't do that. So I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, he called their name Adam. Anybody else? Thoughts, comments, complaints? You guys are awful quiet tonight.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
We're just taking it all in.
Is that what it is?
Sometimes you just need to listen, zip it up.
I've been told that before. The zip it up part.
If you want to learn something, keep your mouth shut. Keep open.
What's the old saying? That's why God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth?
Yeah.
So you could listen twice as much as you talk? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you all for coming. I'm real glad to see you guys tonight. It was good to see you guys. So, any other comments? All hearts that are at ease this evening? Lord, thank you. We just say thank you for our time together with you and for all that you do to provide for us. And